Hey, this is Jesse with Canine Perspective, and we are back for another Monday vlog. Got too busy last week, couldn't do one last week. I went to a seminar over the weekend. Jeff Gellman of Solid Canine Training came to Gilbert, Illinois for Saturday and Sunday. So squeeze some time in at the seminar in between clients, and it was nice to see a lot of people, trainers and as well as just dog owners, attending the seminar, trying to find answers to their dog behavior problems. People coming from Kentucky, people coming from Iowa, Georgia, a couple other places all over Illinois, southwest, northwest suburbs, stuff like that. And a couple of trainers, Wisconsin, a couple of trainers from Wisconsin, which was pretty cool. I myself went to see if I could pick up on anything new. I learned a couple of new things, which was nice. But what was really cool was that, on speaking on behavior, all the key points he touched upon were things that I tell my clients in regards to corrections, high-level corrections, and things like that, and also dealing with just certain types of dog issues like anxiety and things like that, whom I'm not trained by Jeff. I was trained by Richard Hines, but the explanation is different. The thought kind of is a little bit different, but the core of it is the exact same. Like providing structure for your dogs, disciplining them. Obviously, if they got baggage like anxiety or fear, pushing them outside of their comfort zone to help them learn how to deal with stress, correcting aggression, so on and so forth. Same thing for obedience. So that was pretty cool. There was probably approximately 30 to 40 people there, so it was a pretty sizable group. But kind of touching upon last week of like not getting too comfortable. Like this lady over here, she's got her dog off leash. Not getting too comfortable with your dog. One of the things that people like to do is let their dogs out of their yard loose, off leash. When I was in Texas, this was a big thing. People didn't really they kept their dogs in yards, but they would like let their dogs out loose in the front yard and stuff. And in some areas, you'd come across like the neighborhood dogs, and it'd be like 5 to 8 dogs from different households just roaming the streets together as a pack. And I've learned how to deal with that. But this lady from Iowa came and was talking about how she can't walk her 2 dogs because everybody lets their dogs out off leash, and her German Shepherd is reactive, so she has to carry a whip to keep them at bay, which is fine. You gotta do what you need to do to protect your dog. But what was crazy was that apparently someone's loose dog bit the dog catcher, and the dog catcher got blood poisoning and died. Like that's a true story. This lady came and said that happened, which is nuts. I mean, that's probably one of the craziest things I've ever heard, and I've heard some crazy stuff, but I guess you kind of get used to like dogs attacking other dogs or dogs killing dogs in the household because you've heard it so many times, and this was actually a first for me. But this is one of those things, like do not leave your dogs outside unattended. One, people steal dogs. In Texas, it was a huge thing. People used to steal. I remember this guy, when I worked at the pet store, brought in his boxer who was like torn up, malnourished, in terrible shape. And apparently they had taken his boxer out of his yard like 3 months prior, and then they brought the dog back and just dumped him back in the yard. And the dog was just in terrible shape. They used him as a bait dog for fighting and stuff like that, so he was all torn up. And the guy was trying to figure out what he could do. And we were like, take him to the vet. We don't know why you'll take him here, for one. But yeah, people steal dogs. People leave their dogs tied up to like poles and stuff, which I think is a stupid idea, because you don't know who's gonna come by. They might just steal your dog just as a family pet if you have a nice one, or they might just steal your dog just to use it as a bait dog. So you're really putting your dog at risk by leaving him unattended. Even in the yard, people steal dogs from yards. It doesn't, I've heard of it happening a few times, like that boxer guy. Chicago as well, it can happen. But it's just people getting too comfortable leaving their dogs out in the yard, thinking nothing will happen, and that's completely incorrect. The other thing is, if you don't have a yard, your dog should be on a leash. Otherwise, something like that happens, dog catcher comes, dog gets bit, or catcher gets bit, and then the person dies. I mean, that's crazy, but I don't understand why people feel that they should do those things just because they have like an open space and they think like nothing's gonna happen. People need to take responsibility for their dogs. So me, back from my dog walking days, especially down in Texas, you know, I'd have a pack of dogs coming up to me, and since I learned the Cesar Millan method, I learned how to flush dogs back using body language, which was very helpful. And then now to this day, if someone's dog runs up to me and approaches me, I'm gonna kick that dog out of my way. Like, I punted like 2 dogs 2 or 3 weeks ago out of my way because I'm walking down 26th Street, which is a main street down in Chicago. This lady had 3 or 4 dogs. One she was carrying, one was on a leash, and then 2 were off leash. So she had 4 dogs. And right away, I see them, so I make a mental note, like, obviously there's dogs off leash. And sure enough, her 2 little ones start charging my dogs, and I had my 3, 2, and then 3 client dogs, so I had 6 dogs. Starts charging me, and they're little dogs, like Shih Tzu mixes, probably like 20, 30 pounds. First one comes straight for the front of me, right foot to the chest, send him back about 3 or 4 feet. Then the other dog tried to come around from the side, and I turned and I kicked that dog too. You know, for one, your dog shouldn't be off a leash if you cannot control your dog, right? You're in the middle of a busy street. Like, why would you even do that? Your dog can run into the street and get hit by a car. Secondly, I got my dogs, so the moment you see me with my dogs, you need to put your dogs on a leash. I am not gonna stop. I am gonna take care of your dog for you if you don't do so. You know, and the lady was just in shock because she was like, oh my God, you kicked my dog. And I'm like, well, you should have had your dog on a leash. Because I have 6 dogs. My dogs are fine, but if I have an aggressive dog with me, that's your fault. Your dogs are off leash, mine are on leash. You come into our space and the dog feels threatened, he's gonna protect himself. You know, even if he is a dog in training, like, you have to understand when another dog charges your dog, that's like threat. Imagine you're walking down the street and you see someone walking directly towards you. Your brain can't help but, your instinct can't help but think threat or concern. Especially if it's like a taller, larger person coming directly at you, making eye contact and running at you, you're gonna find it very threatening. What do you think your dog thinks when that happens? And this has happened to me so many times, and I have learned to not be polite, just to be blunt, step in, address the situation, and move on. I get people whose dogs are off leash, and then they, you know, I'll flush them back or whatever, and then I'll start walking away, and then the dog starts following me because they're like, oh, I'm gonna go with this pack of dogs. And then the owner's like, hey, please stop my dog. I need to catch my dog. Well, then I'm like, you need to run your ass because I'm walking and I'm not gonna stop because you had your dog off leash and you can't control your dog. That's not my problem. Run and catch them. So I'm gonna keep walking. And, you know, people get pissed and they think I'm a jerk. I'm like, really? You think I'm the jerk? So I don't play those games. Even at the dog park, if a dog's messing with my dogs too much, I step in, I address the situation. Because people don't understand, it just takes a moment, one dog bite, to do some serious damage, you know? And since I have a pit, everybody's gonna blame it on her because of her breed. And I can be like, you know, your puppy wouldn't stop. You were on your phone drinking your coffee or whatever, not paying attention to your dog. So then I step in so that my dog doesn't have to. Otherwise, you're gonna just blame her because she's a pit. And, you know, you get to these really kind of, what's the word? Weird situations with people. And I just learned to not give a shit. because they obviously don't give a shit if they're not paying attention. So I don't need to be friends with anybody. My pack comes first. My pack, my clients' dogs. Whenever I take a client's dog, I treat them like one of my own. You know, they get the same, as long as they've earned it, they get the same privileges going on the pack walks. You know, we go on nice long pack walks and stuff. If they're off leash trained, I go to a park and let them loose. I am respectful of other people's space. Like obviously if I see someone playing ball with their dog, I'm not going to take my pack of 6 to 8 dogs over there. That's just imposing upon their time and space, right? I'll go off and find a little section by myself, and if my dog starts to go a little too close to a group of people, I bring them back. I take them with the remote and bring them back. You know, I keep it so that we're not imposing on anyone, but not everybody thinks that way. You know, so when I have a pack of 6 or whatever dogs, excuse me, client dogs, if someone's dog tries to start something with them, I'm gonna protect them like one of my own. You know, if that dog deserves a foot to the chest, I'm gonna give him a foot to the chest. I honestly don't give a shit, because a dog's teeth are gonna do a lot more damage to your dog and to your wallet than what my foot to your dog's chest is gonna do, right? And if you don't want that problem, then keep your dog on a leash. Get your dog off leash train if you want that kind of freedom. And be responsible. Have off-leash etiquette. Don't be walking around just because your dog's off-leash trained and, you know, imposing on people and all that stuff, trying to show off, because then that's how things happen. Like, I walk my dogs off-leash, but I know the area. And then if I know if it's too busy or too congested, if I walk down 26th Street on a Saturday, I put my dogs on a leash. It's just too many people. So, you know, as much as I like to give them those responsibilities, at the same time, or not responsibilities, those privileges and those freedoms, at the same time, I'm responsible. If I have my dog off leash and she were to go and run into someone's space and like set their dog off, and their dog like went to check her, I would accept it. Like, I wouldn't get pissed. I'm like, you know what, I'm sorry, that was my bad, my dog was off leash, you know, I screwed up or whatever, and I accept it. People have a problem with that. So that's it for this week's vlog. Don't get too comfortable with your dog. Be responsible. If you're gonna have them off leash and stuff, make sure you have them off leash trained, or have them on leash if you can't control them. Other than that, this is Jesse with Canine Perspective. See you next week.